Recently, I watched Spider-Man No Way Home, and I was deeply confused and unimpressed by it, specifically with the plot. I'm sorry if I'm offending any of the Marvel dweebs out there, but I literally found the movie to be so boring, and I'm aware that I'm being hypercritical, but that's who I am, and I'm allowed to comment on things and critique them, so whatever. My major issue with the movie is that the plot points were completely avoidable. If Peter had just pressed the button on the cube thing, all of the problems that were in the movie would have been over. But he doesn't, for some reason. And instead, in this movie, he's just allowing villains to continue to live in spite of the fact that they're literally violent criminals. Like, he didn't have a problem killing the evil guy in the last movie. Like, I don't get it. And I was also confused as to why did he want to rehabilitate them? Like, they're villains. Seeing the original villains from the two other Spider-Man franchises was cool and everything, it was great, but why was he trying to better them? Why was Peter trying to make them better people and to make them no longer villains? Especially since at the end of the movie, he just returns them back to their original timeline where they die. Doesn't that mean that the rehabilitated villains are just going back to the timeline where they die anyway? Like, all that work and destruction was for nothing, Peter. I feel like the plot of the people coming over and Peter not knowing what to do could have also been a super interesting opportunity to get to see a new side of who Peter is and sort of understand how his mind works and how he makes decisions and how he processes information. Like, he is the reason why all of the villains are alive and why they are in this universe. And he knows that sending them back to their timelines means that they'll die. It would have been interesting to see the internal conflict that Peter might have been having about what he should do and how he should continue. And it also could have really made the reason for why he wanted to rehabilitate them more realistic, rather than just being we need to rehabilitate them just because. It could have been oh, we need to rehabilitate them because I don't want to kill them. And if we turn them back into people, then they can be integrated into society. Because at the end of the movie, when they rehabilitate all the villains, they are just people. They're just regular people. So why couldn't the villains have just stayed in the timeline? Because if they went back to the original timeline, they would have died. I don't know. I don't understand that. If you understand this, let me know, because I don't understand it at all. And it just feels like there was an opportunity for introspection and it was missed. And instead we just see Peter with a massive God complex. And without Tom Holland's incredible acting abilities and the humanness and charisma that he brings to Spider-Man, I feel like I would have hated the movie and I really would have started to resent Peter as a character. And also the fact that he thinks he knows more than Doctor Strange is really annoying. But nobody seems to care, so it's whatever. MJ and the aunt are both you're doing the right thing, this is the right thing to do. Peter, no you're not. I also wanted more character development. Too much of this movie is action. My eyes glazed over. Also, side note, I don't get how Tom Holland got into those fights. He got beat the fuck up not wearing his mask. He was pushed through windows as layers and layers of concrete without his mask on, and he still lives. I get that they have to show all the Peters without their masks so that the audience can tell who is who, but to be honest, they all look the same without their masks on, so what's the point of doing that anyway? They are all the same person. Also, I want more from Zendaya. She is a phenomenal actress. She's a thespian, and I love her. And I want to see her in a role that is not moody teenager. Also, Ned. I love Ned. He is great in this movie. He is, he's great in every movie. I want to see Ned become Doctor Strange's apprentice. That's what I want to happen. There's this whole side plot, super cool, of Ned being, getting Doctor Strange's, portal ring and using it and having the power and the ability to harness the magic that Doctor Strange has, and it's so cool. And I want to see Ned become Doctor Strange's apprentice in the next movie. I feel like that would be super epic. Um, Also, I don't really understand the whole forgetting Peter thing. Like, no one remembers him. That seems to be really complex, especially in relation to Stark Tech. Does that mean the glasses from the last movie won't work? Will he be able to access Stark Tech? Are there like no records of him like in the government at all? I don't know. Anyway, I was also confused by the ending. How was Peter making webs? How did he make a suit? Had he like he had to have done more than just sew the suit. Like it was a whole bunch of technology, isn't it? Like built in a lab, built with Happy's like technology. I don't understand how he created his suit at the end and it was fully functioning. And also, shouldn't he be in foster care? And the fact that everyone forgot him will be a cool plot point for the next movie, but it also makes me really frustrated and annoyed because that means that like it renders the events of this movie basically useless because everyone forgot about it. It's like the plot point when it's like and it was all a dream and it's like oh and he woke up from the dream. Like that's the worst cop out and that's literally what this entire movie was. And it boggles my mind that this is how it ended because that means not only were all of the plot points that happened in the movie completely avoidable and unnecessary, but it means that everything that happened is not relevant and is unimportant. Let's talk about things that I liked. The acting, as always, is incredible. There is not one weak link in this movie. Thank God. And because if the acting had been bad, I would have walked out. Yeah, I will also say the CGI is incredible. The directing is pretty good. I like some of the character interactions are good. I like when you get to see the Spider-Man's kind of bonding together and being like, "Oh, we all have the same problems." And I will say that I like how the first movie is kind of very small scale. The second movie is larger scale and the third movie is like huge. I like how there's that kind of progression. I thought that that was good. That's basically all my points. I was really unimpressed with this movie. I feel like once the next movie comes out, we're gonna realize just how bad this movie actually was because it will become completely irrelevant. Like, everyone's like, this is the greatest Spider-Man movie of all time. No, it's not. And yeah, that's all. Bye bye.